It had rained and rained for days on end. I couldn't get out in the garden, and I sat looking out of the window thinking about my garden tours and where I wanted to take them, how to keep them interesting when it was the same garden. And then the sun came out, and I thought about all the stories within my garden, and I decided I wanted to start storytelling more through these garden tours. And so with a few dry days at the end of the month, I came out and began recording the garden to share, thinking about how I wanted to take these videos and where they were heading. And then I spotted the blue trellis, an old swing frame from the days of my children being tiny. And I stopped and smiled, as I always do when I spot it. And I suddenly thought about memory magic, the things that hold memory within my garden that I've kept because of those memories. Memory magic. The story I want to tell this garden vlog. Memories of my children swinging tiny little hands and feet. Garden play, water play, and the days when my babies were tiny, all held within the blue metal trellis that plants now climb up. Another piece of trellis would have done, but nothing would have held the magic of this old swing frame. I'd planted around it this month, even the marigolds that got chewed by the slugs in the greenhouse, they were given a chance. Look, all the zinnias are out. And the tyre stacks held new memories. I'd surprised Tilly with a little family of solar light-up animals, snails and ladybugs, all given their names this month and put inside the tyres. She'd loved it, and we now have a trail of lights up the garden shining out of each of the tyres. New solar friends, new memories to add next to the old memories, the old swing frame. And it made me think about how time is represented in the garden. The lettuce had gone, it had gone rotten, its time was done, but look at the dahlias coming through, new growth, the turning of the wheel evident in each new flower opening, each sunflower rising towards the sun. Time is so represented in a garden, and therefore I think memory automatically becomes a part of a garden. A memory of sunflower competitions yearly, of sunflowers next to frame sets, of new growth, new seedlings and old things returning. The new seedlings were nearly all out. These are the last few trays. And in Tilly's secret garden, some beautiful flowers, the clematis all open, this pink one this year just glorious, whereas its sister blue one that's always struggled now beginning to bloom under a birthday flamingo. And at the base, a little rabbit and its baby sat on a pink chair, a little plastic pink chair that is so precious, again for the memory it holds. The chair that accompanied a first keyboard, a much loved Christmas present. A chair that holds the memory of laughter and Christmases and joy and little babies, now surrounded by new plants growing as the wheel moves forward. And underneath a delicate fuchsia bush beginning to flower, Mr. Bummy laughs at us next to a fairy world made this year for another birthday. In years to come, will this world be a thing of memories? The circular nature of time, the turning of the wheel, the yellow rudbeckia that's returned from last year would whisper, yes, that's what gardening is. Gardening is playing and connecting with time and memory, making new memories, keeping the wheel turning and celebrating the turns of old. A new gnome family peeps out. That was a new memory for this month. But these rudbeckia that have returned themselves from last year, an old memory. And the garden has been filling my soul with joy. Giant sunflowers rising to the sun for Letha. New spaces made in amongst grasses gone crazy. And handfuls of seeds scattered last year, becoming beds full of white daisy joy. Seeds are almost like time capsules in their own right. A handful scattered one year, a bed full of beauty the next. I'd been revelling in the abundance of the growth in the garden this summer with my 2 crazy dogs. The wild geranium were everywhere this year, so tall. Over the dahlia bed, which has so many things growing now, I can't even see the soil, with the purple wild geranium next to the lavataria, which this year has just created a sky of pink. It's been wonderful. Every time I look out of my window, all I see is joy. I hear the buzzing of bumblebees. It's alive with bumblebees all through the day. It just is wonderful. A display of joy with no effort. The turning of the wheel represented in every daisy head. And to look up through the sea of pink, I wish I could pick up the audio of the buzzing. It's just alive with the sound of bees. Most of them absolutely pollen covered, happily going from flower to flower. A reason to plant lavataria all in its own right. They're so entertaining and wonderful to watch. The flowers everywhere are just fantastic. And behind the baskets, flowering in so much beauty. I've just loved these colours. I've absolutely loved them. The dark petunias in particular have been so velvety and beautiful. Next to these amazing verbena. These verbena, just with their tricolour pink, I am blown away on repeat daily by their beauty. Every day I have a moment with them. And then of course the new memory in this hot tub area built this year. We've had late night DVDs in the tub together. We've laughed, we've played games. Next to a wall of pink roses, probably my favourite part of the whole garden. The pink roses holding a magical memory of them stopping blooming in the years of my divorce. Not a single flower for 3 years while I went through my divorce. And the month after my divorce finalised, I opened the back door to hundreds of blooms. Magic in flowers. The Astilbe knows that truth. I have the lobelia now beginning to bloom in the baskets. Such a beautiful little flower. And the nasturtium, the fire of the nasturtium and their beautiful sculptural leaves just blowing me away again on repeat this summer. New memories, old memories, time turning, all within a garden. The magic of time, it's all here. Every direction I look in, it's all here. And look at these babies on these sedum. They look like they're from the moon and an alien landscape. They are so stunning. These are plants that I am definitely going to be working with in the future and growing more of. I love them. An alien landscape of plant joy. And the pots along my windowsill this year, all their stripes. Last year I had stars and galaxies. This year I've got stripes, both equally wonderful. And then I spot the little plastic tables that the pots are on, and also this plant stand. This plant stand held my wedding cake at my wedding, and the plastic tables have memories of the children building Lego, of painting, of garden play, of artworks done. These were their play tables that I could never bear to part with. These now holding plants and memory within my garden. So you see, memory really is a big part of my garden. New memories, old memories. Perhaps that's what the turning of the wheel is. Perhaps that's what being connected is all about. A sea of memories connected, celebrated, remembered, evolving. Not time standing still. A garden will never let you allow time to stand still. It always demands that you stay in the present, in the here and now, in the current season where the wheel is right now. But it also allows you to connect time like a river. I think that's what I've seen in my garden this month. I've seen time connected like a joyous river. And it's just been wonderful. And as I stand under the magic tree looking at the strawberries and the wonderful greenery, I look up and I see all the chains hanging. These hung for my children to be able to make the wind chimes sound when they were too tiny to reach. I always called it the magic tree. And the magic tree it's always been. Under the magic tree, the garden I planted and the little patio and the beds now full of sunflowers and new things grown this year, and a path full of old sensory toys that helped Tilly when she was a baby to accept textures. Just memories of challenging days, of new diagnoses, but of finding ways through, like the archway that holds in my mind images of the children small playing in front of it with the evening sun streaming through. Days when we had a lawn before dogs chewed it up, and late night evenings in front of an archway. An archway leading through to a strawberry barrel that we found and made ourselves and cleaned and have harvested strawberries for years from, next to old playhouse parts from when they were small enough to fit. Playhouse walls that have become fences over the years. Nothing could make a nicer fence than an old playhouse. Next to a shed now full of gardening equipment that used to be schoolrooms and garden houses and worlds of make-believe. And second-hand gates with other people's memories in. And that big white pot that I found at the tip and I brought back and planted the first tomato plants ever in. The children would take turns to water the tomato plant in the evening and collect tomatoes from. And then at the top of the garden, the trampoline. How anybody can do motherhood without a trampoline is beyond me. days of them, little days when it was covered in a huge circus tent. Gosh, this trampoline, the second now that I've had, and underneath it old toys, their old train. Again, I couldn't bear to get rid of this. When it stopped working, I tried to fix it, it wouldn't work, they got too big for it, but now I'm going to plant it. I couldn't possibly ever leave it. And then around the corner, a Moroccan camel, reminding me of adventures across Morocco. Waradi the camel, waiting to be painted pink like his name. And yet more toys underneath, flowering peonies that have, in the heavy rain, not even lasted the week, which is a real shame. But around them you can see plastic toys of old, again toys that I couldn't bear to leave, toys and old kiddies' garden rakes, and when little hands used to help me in the garden, the old days of little hands and garden helpers, and old forts and fairy princess houses, all ready to become planters underneath lilac, laviteria and wild nettle beds. So as I turn around at the top of this garden tour and see another old toy and all the beauty of these plants in the current day, I do think that time and memory is a huge part of gardening. The memories held within a place, genius loci, the spirit and magic of place. Just as water holds memory, you can see all these water droplet jewels on the lady's mantle plant that I've got. It's not even rained today, but it just holds jewels of memory. And I think reusing and upcycling is a way too of holding on to jewels of memory in a garden. The hosta are offering up new jewels. Look at these flowers breaking through on these hostas. It's amazing. Next to the canary grass. So within the abundance of my June garden tour and the summer garden, I take a moment to think about the stories of memory. The old glockenspiel made from an abandoned swimming pool found in the garden. It's an honour really to play with genius loci and the spirit of place. Even the gate tie that I've added to the gate now is Tilly's old school bag that she loved but that's split. The rest of it I'm turning into bunting for her garden. I think that's why I like using recycled objects so much as well. I feel the memory within objects. It's why I also have a hard time cutting plants. There's Rupert chasing bumblebees. And these branches were cut off the tree when I had to trim the tree down. It broke my heart to cut into the tree. The bigger branches are all piled up on my front driveway. I felt incapable of taking them off site. So I hope you've enjoyed this garden tour this month and the stories of the memories held within it. I've loved it. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.